Or do you think I am? Am I a boy or a girl? Many times people assume someone's gender based on how they talk, what up bro, what they wear, or what they're interested in. But all that is gender expression. So what is gender expression? To refresh, your biological sex, if you're male, female, or intersex, is determined by chromosomes. Gender identity, however, is how you identify as a boy or a girl within the social construct of gender. How you communicate your gender is known as gender expression. We give gender connotations to absolutely everything, from clothing to jobs to interests. When a person's expression of themselves matches what society says they should be expressing through their gender, they're considered gender conforming. A stereotypical example of this is when a girl wears a dress or a guy plays basketball. I like basketball. Yes, you do. And because you're a boy, you're considered gender conforming. But I also like basketball. So you're gender conforming too then. My gender is a girl, so me liking basketball is considered not gender conforming. When someone breaks the rules and expresses themselves outside of the societal gender norms, they're considered gender non-conforming. Being gender conforming or gender non-conforming is an action, not a form of self-identification. What that means is anyone can be gender conforming or non-conforming. Transgender, cisgender, whoever. Our idea of what gender conforming is has changed over time. Girls wearing pants was considered gender non-conforming. But today, girls wear pants all the time, so it's considered gender conforming. Gender traits aren't static or intrinsic to a certain gender. They change all the time. And remember, gender identity and gender expression are different.
Gender expression is simply how a person expresses his or her gender through actions. A theory named heterosexuality matrix states that people often perceive one's gender through the visible aspects they see. Gender conforming is when a person's behavior, actions, expressions, etc. does not contradict with his or her behavior. On the other hand, gender conforming is when a person's actions, expressions, etc. contradicts with his or her behavior.
Norms. In sociology, this phenomenon is called collective behavior. Now, collective behavior is not the same thing as group behavior, and that's because of a few reasons. First, collective behavior typically is time limited. It involves short social interactions, whereas groups tend to remain together longer and socialize for extended periods of time. Secondly, while collective behavior is time limited, it isn't socially limited. There are no social boundaries, and anyone is free to participate in a collective, whereas groups can be exclusive or have membership requirements. Lastly, norms within groups are generally strongly held and well defined, whereas collective behavior produces norms that are weak and murky. Collective behavior generally violates widely held societal norms, and at times it can be very destructive. Though it's not the same thing as group behavior, it's often driven by group dynamics, things like de-individuation, which is a concept I discuss in the social psychology videos. You don't need to know the specifics, but just know that certain group dynamics can oftentimes encourage people to engage in acts that they may consider deviant or wrong under normal circumstances, and these same group dynamics can happen in a collective as well. Now, sociologists have identified three basic types of collective behavior: fads, mass hysteria, and riots.
Panic creates an intense fear that triggers severe physical reactions when there is no real danger or apparent cause. Moral panic is when a group of people, like for example, media, creates a massive exaggeration of deviance that is publicized and sensationalized by creating more deviance close to the media's original exaggeration. It creates confusion over what deviance on, what is not, in a form of marginalization and stigma. Mass hysteria involves large groups of people who experience unmanageable delusions and anxiety at the same time. The reactions spread rapidly and reach more people through rumors and fear. Mass hysteria often takes the form of panic reactions of negative news or potential threat. A good example of this is the reaction that takes place when there is a chance of severe weather coming. Newscasters and weathercasters induce fear to large masses of people. Riots are characterized by a large group of people that suddenly engage in deviant behavior like vandalism, violence, or other crimes. Riots are typically very chaotic and cause financial damages to cities.